Hello, all 7 viewers of this series. Welcome back to the Douglas Fir Association. And we're here to talk about the one and only 1980 something film. I forgot the release date. 84? Dune. David Lynch's Dune. Oh man. It is a film. It's definitely a film. So I think I did say last time we talked I was going to go into my history on Dune because you're pretty like you were pretty blind to it, right, going in.
Yeah, completely.
Okay. So for me growing up, Star Wars was the big thing. That's why my stepdad introduced me to it and I loved it. My dad, he's not really into Star Wars, but he said, "You want to see what my version of Star Wars is? Check out this film." And he bought me on video Dune. So I watched it as a kid. So imagine like 8, 9 years old. Some pretty gory stuff in Dune, I would say. I was a bit taken aback, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. The first thing I really gravitated towards was the worms, because I've always loved big scale stuff as a kid. Like I was like
Yeah.
nerd. I was nerdy. Like, what's the tallest building and what's the biggest mountain in the world? I just loved epic, massive stuff. So like a big worm like that was just like I just loved the spectacle of it as a kid. But it didn't grab me in the same way as Star Wars did. So I never really went back to it. As a teenager, I thought, oh yeah, that film. I watched it again. I thought, yeah, that's pretty good, but it didn't really, again, it didn't kind of latch on to me. And then once I became a fan of Lynch, I went back to it. And I did a review for it on my channel, I think a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. And I was like, God, it's such a mess, but I love the mess of it. Like, it's just like, fuck it, yeah, it's just all jumbled together. And, I a fondness grew for it. Watching it now was a bit different. But what was your experience with David Lynch's Dune before I continue to waffle on?
I hated it. So the next film that we're going to do in the David Lynch series,
Yep, hit me.
joke.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
No. In all seriousness, I didn't have a great time with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I've heard is a common theme on a first watch of June. From some of the people I've talked to, our mutual friend James, he said the same thing as I did, and he said he's enjoyed it on more viewings. Um, but it just didn't feel to me like a Lynch film, and not every film has to feel like a Lynch film, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's just something I missed. I missed his input. It felt like a real studio film where he had like so much restraint, and you just can't restrain someone like David Lynch if you're going to expect greatness. Um, yeah, I just didn't have a great time with it. I think I said to you the main thing I took away from it was like the spectacle of it, and I guess you just echoed the same thing with like with the worms. The practical effects in it are great. The whole landscape of it, all the really tall buildings that you see in the
Mm.
deserts and stuff. Yeah, I loved all that stuff, and the scene where they're riding the worm on the way at the end. Thought that was fantastic. And it was also great seeing some of the other Lynch crew members from over the years as well. So that was pretty cool. And probably the biggest thing I took away from it was that this was the start of the relationship between Paul McLaughlin and David Lynch. So that's if I could take anything away from that, it's that relationship was built, and then that went on to Blue Velvet, and of course into Twin Peaks.
Yeah, man. I think from memory, Kyle went into this thinking, wow, this is like my big break and stuff. And then obviously the film not doing very well across the board, financially, critically, was like, okay, I guess that's not my destiny then, kind of thing. And I think he was even surprised that Lynch wanted to work with him again. But yeah, it is. I mean, seeing their whole trajectory is interesting. Looking at the very beginning, because he does seem that kind of prototypical, you know, young actor to be put into kind of a big franchise. Because there was plans to do a sequel as well,
Yeah.
which I haven't looked into too much. I think Lynch wrote at least half of the script or something, so he was like eager. He liked the material. It wasn't like he was a hired hand who came in, which almost happened. Well, not almost happened, but he was approached by George Lucas to do Return of the Jedi, the third Star Wars film. Have you heard that story?
No, no.
So he went to meet George Lucas, and they had like a lunch or something, and I think Lynch said he had a really bad headache, and he was just like, "No, all the creatures, this is your thing. Like, I'm not, not for me."
Yeah.
Imagine that, like the David Lynch Star Wars. That's pretty interesting. But as you say, it isn't. It doesn't have his full stamp on it, I guess. But much in the same way that Elephant Man maybe doesn't at times, there are some moments I'd kind of forgotten about, like Paul Atreides' mother. She's pregnant, and we see like these visions of like the fetus and stuff. Some of that stuff was pretty like Lynchian to me. Like I feel like he got some stuff out there.
There's a scene where he's got like a little vial, and he's got this bug inside the bottom. And he squishes it, and it forms like a drink.
Oh
He just
yeah,
puts it back. That part really reminded me of Lynch's stuff, like
yeah,
a razor head kind of stuff.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, I forgot
but
about
yeah,
that. So it's just an interesting one because it's like for years he would like I never want to talk about it, almost like David Fincher in Alien 3, like it's off limits. He's talked about it more in recent years in his autobiography, the audio version I listened to. He's kind of like, I don't really like talking about Dune, but but he talks a little bit about it. And in recent years, he's been open to the idea of maybe actually going back and looking at all the footage and seeing if there was something he could do. So I'm like, why isn't the studio jumping on that? Can you imagine that David Lynch's
yeah,
director's cut of Dune? Like, just open the wallet, but I guess no one was biting. So I can't remember really. I haven't done a deep dive on all of the studio interference and stuff, but it definitely was taken away from him, and that's exactly why we talked about it before. That's why Blue
yeah,
Velvet was so important, because with Blue Velvet, he was given that film to do the
yeah.
way he wanted to do it, whereas Dune, it kind
That's it.
of, too many cooks in the kitchen. What I found interesting watching this again is that it's the first time I've seen it since the new films have come out.
Yeah,
So the Denis Villeneuve two-part film of Dune, Part 1, Part 2. So now I've seen the story of Dune, the first book, I believe, done in a 5-hour movie, pretty much, and then
yeah,
just seeing the David Lynch 2-hour version is almost comical in terms of how much it squashes down into like just over 2 hours. Because the cutoff point for the first new Dune film is when Paul and his mother meet the Fremen in the desert.
yeah,
So if you remember that scene, and in the David Lynch version, it's like they go into a cave and say, "Oh, who are these people? Hi, you are Paul Moadi. Right now, Chani, kiss him. Like, come on, let's go. Get the worm out. Get him on the worm. Let's get on the Empress. Let's go fight." Like, it just goes so fast.
yeah,
Whereas in the new version, the first film, it ends with him meeting the Fremen, and they're like, "Okay, they're a bit cagey. If you want to come with us, then you need to prove yourself." And someone challenges him to a duel to the death, which he wins, obviously. And that's the end of the film. And it's like, okay, there's an uncertain future, and then you see someone riding a worm across the desert. Spoilers. That's how the film ends. And then the whole second film is after that, and the people not trusting that he's their messiah. Like, is this the chosen one? Is this the prophecy really being fulfilled and stuff? And you get so much more time for that story to breathe. So watching it again now, the second hour of David Lynch's Dune is just ridiculously like rushed. So,
yeah,
but it also gave me, I was much more familiar then with the story, so I wasn't like lost on that. I was like, oh yeah, that's that and that and that. Like, I could see someone watching it for the first time not really grabbing all the details.
yeah,
I still don't think it does a terrible job, and I think the first hour is actually great. I think the first hour of the film is really fucking good. There's great actors in it. The production design's great. I like the story. I just think the second half just it blasts through so much, and that hurts it a little bit. But I also revel in the ridiculousness of it as well.
yeah,
And the 4K looked great. It's nice in an era where we're seeing these fucking weird AI 4Ks coming out. It's nice to just see
yeah.
like a proper, legit, highest possible quality home video release of a film like this, where there's so much practical effect on display.
Yeah, some of those computer generated effects are not aged well.
Oh, I know exactly what you're thinking
with the
of.
shield,
Yeah,
with the shield.
yeah, very blocky and
Yeah, early date stuff that was, wasn't it? Proper early.
uh, that's one of the things that's great in the new film is the shields and the breaking through them and stuff. There's some great ideas in Dune, and I like a lot of the again, practical effects, the worms, and there's not a whole lot of CGI going on. There's
So here's a question for you. Do you think if someone else had taken on that film with the same constraints that they could have pulled it off?
depends who it is, I guess.
Someone like Ridley Scott,
Do you mean like pull it off as in better?
yeah, like made it cohesive and less convoluted.
Yeah, I think Ridley Scott would have. I mean, as an
Mm.
example, I think I was just watching the making of Alien, and
Yeah,
I think they had like a $6 million budget. He went back to the UK, spent 3 weeks storyboarding the entire film, came back to Los Angeles, and then they bumped it up by 2 million because of how clear and concise his visual vision was for the entire film. So I think
yeah,
he probably, and that was something where he was literally kind of hired in. It wasn't his story. So I feel like, yeah, I think other directors probably would have been a bit more pliable to what a
yeah,
studio would want, and whereas Lynch is bit different in that way. He's a different cat. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a weird one, but I mean, there's a lot to love about it. Again, some great performances. The guy who plays the Baron, I don't know his name. Very theatrical, big booming performance.
Mm.
He's a very disgusting character as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you pick up on this? This gets talked about a fair bit because there's little hints that he's homosexual in the film. The way he kind of looks at certain male characters. Did you get that from the film?
I don't think I did. No.
No, yeah. There's like a little boy, like, well, not a little boy, but like a young man who comes in, and he's looking at him very suggestively, and then he kills him, and it's kind of like a. So people think that and read into, because of all the pus on his face and stuff, that he's meant to be some sort
Yeah.
of metaphor for like AIDS and stuff, and how
Mm.
I'd like to think that's not the way they were going with that, but
Yeah.
I can't get out of my head now every time I watch it, and the suggestive looks that he gives certain people. The effects of him flying around are pretty fucking good. Even in 4K,
Yeah.
I couldn't really see the wires or anything, and the music is great. I think there's a lot of great elements. I like Dune. I really enjoy it. It's the most I've ever enjoyed it, and yeah, I look forward to watching it again. There is like a TV version,
Yep.
which is meant to be much better. It has a lot more material in it. It's called the Alan Smithy cut. So, you heard the Alan Smithy story, or you're aware of that?
Don't believe so. No.
Yeah. So when a director wants to take his name off a film, he doesn't want to be associated with it. The typical name is directed by Alan Smithy. So it's called the Alan Smithy cut. I think Lynch didn't want his name on that, but yeah. So that's kind of a fair amount of deleted material. There's other versions and fan cuts as well. So I haven't looked at
Yeah.
any of them, but I'm intrigued to in the future. And I don't know.
I think what I'm going to do is revisit it once I've seen the Denis Villeneuve ones
That's a good idea. Yeah.
because
For- for-
the story will be more concise, and I think I'll understand it a little bit better.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, I mean, coming from those films are like some of the greatest science fiction films ever made. Like both of them are fucking
Yeah.
5 stars masterpiece. Like I can't even begin to praise them enough. There's a bit in the first film, watching it in the IMAX. It's just a ship coming down, and I teared up a little bit because it was just so like, I don't know. It reminded me of like an old film. It felt real. The
Yeah.
effects are so good, and there's a mix of very good CGI and a lot of practical stuff, but it's like an overwhelming film in terms of scale. But they got the story right too, and it has enough time. The performances are incredible. Kyle in this, he's not great. He has a couple of good moments, but you can tell he's a young actor who's, maybe getting lost in a big production.
Yeah.
You get people like Patrick Stewart and what's his name, Max von Sydow, some real pedigree
Yeah.
to the they always dependable actors in ridiculous situations sometimes. So the scene where Paul Atreides, we haven't really talked about the plot. I'm sure it's fine. Again, not many people watch these. I'm assuming people have seen Dune if they're listening to us chat about it. The scene where Paul is tested by the Bene Gesserit. So there's the woman who has the box, and he puts the hand inside. Do you remember that? And his hand's burning.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fucking great scene. Like I was captivated, and I was expecting for moments like that not to register as well because they're done so well in the new one. But that one I actually thought was really fucking cool, like seeing his hands start to burn and the concept of pain being in your mind and stuff. So yeah, I think some things actually come off really well. The relationship with Chani kind of falls flat. I mean, Sean Young is a beautiful woman, but the chemistry wasn't really there. I don't feel like time for the relationship to develop wasn't really there. I feel like, whereas in again the new version, not to keep going back to that, I feel like that is much more developed. So that reflects a bit negatively, I guess. So yeah, Dune. Anything more you want to add? I mean, again, assuming because you didn't really take to it that much, you don't have too much to say.
Yeah, there's not too much more that I could say than I've already said, to be honest. But
Yeah,
I will say it's certainly not going down as like one of the worst films I've ever seen. I still took a lot of good things away from it, and I'm
yeah,
definitely going to go back to it in the future. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's not a complete write off for me. It just didn't feel like something which he has admitted himself is that Lynch is proud of, and
yeah.
so
I mean, it is the only film.
yeah, exactly,
Um,
yeah.
and thinking about it, obviously haven't seen Inland Empire. I would say it's definitely the least Lynchian film, to use that term. Um, you know what we should have done, which we didn't do, and we said we were going to do, is actually note down our rankings for this one, because I've completely
Yes.
fucking forgotten again. Okay, so we have done our lists properly, so we're not just stammering all over the place, and you get to hear 2 minutes just going, "Oh, which one was the last?" Okay, no, we got the lists. So your bottom at number 6,
Dune.
June. My bottom at number 6 is Eraserhead.
Okay.
Yeah. So your number 5.
Your Razorhead.
Yeah, and my 5 is Dune. I think Eraserhead is a much better film. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like I would rather watch Dune on any given day. So it's more of a preference than a quality thing. Eraserhead is a
I
much
get
more
that.
accomplished film, but yeah, it's still the bottom for me. Your number
Yeah.
4,
Lost Highway.
same for me. Your number 3,
Elephant Man.
okay. My number 3 is Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me.
Mm-hmm.
Your number 2,
Oh, what with me?
okay. And my number 2 is still, even though this is a tough one last time, I'm still going to go with my guns on Blue Velvet, number 2.
And my number 1 is Blue Velvet.
And my number 1 is The Elephant Man. So, okay, interesting. A few diversions at the bottom and the top,
Yeah,
but we're,
pretty similarly close. So
pretty similar, yeah. Okay. All right. So now we've got to figure out what our next film is, and it is your pick.
is indeed.
Um, unless you had any specific way of announcing it, I think I know what it is. Can I guess?
Go.
Okay. So we just watched Dune, which is pretty complex film. It's very winding. I got a feeling we're going to be going a bit more straight with the next one. Am I right? A little close. No?
We're going down that winding path.
Oh, holy shit. Okay, right. I thought it was a straight story. I'll tell you why. Because you just fucking bought it twice. I didn't know. I didn't know you had Mulholland Drive. I felt like you
Yeah,
didn't have it. Okay.
yeah, but Criterion for you. Well, for about a year now. Yeah.
I'm kind of in the back of my head. I'm kind of feeling like the straight story would be a great one to end on because we both love it so much. But all right, Mulholland Drive, man. Okay. I was kind of like preparing myself for the past hour to watch Straight Story, but I'm a bit more jazzed up to see Mulholland Drive again because that
How
is
many times have you seen it?
once.
Just once. Cool.
Just once, about 5 years ago. So, yeah, I have to crack out the region free player. So, Mulholland Drive will be the next one. Quote for Dune: "Father, the sleeper has awoken." There you go.
I'm glad you had one because I couldn't have had one.
No. The killing word. That's a bit I love in Dune, is the whole like the killing word thing where you can like use a word to kill someone, and the fight with Sting at the end. Yeah. And he just uses the word, his fucking chest just splits open. Such like holy fucking, like even like the floor cracks, I think. Just the sheer power of it. And when I was a kid, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, like that's pretty, this thing Star Wars. All right then, so that is Dune, and we'll see you next time for Mulholland Drive. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.